Good luck. Okay, well, yeah, absolutely. If you have to step away.
Yeah.
All right. Just on the Marie Curie thing as well, when it's just time is against us. So I think we should try for next round. That would be my guess.
Yeah, that was also my idea. I think we should go ahead anyways, but go for the deadline from next year and not this year.
Yeah,
So
I think so. Yeah.
More
I mean, I just haven't got the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think officially the UK didn't make the decision yet to join the Horizon Europe program.
I thought we had, but I could be wrong.
Because there was news that Norway was joining, but I didn't get the news yet that the UK finally signed the agreement.
For Horizon 2020?
No, Horizon Europe.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay.
Because 2020 was the old program and Europe is the new program. That's why they needed new negotiations.
Yeah,
like
sure.
that. So maybe it's more safe to go for next year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now I've suddenly got to put in an application for a new NMR machine here, and it's taking time. And then there's another grant application after that, and I've just got no way of getting this one in. So, but we can make sure we have a great application for next time, right?
Yeah.
All right, we can get started if you want to, and people can join us as and when. I think I'm sharing it, and Hung, you're minute taking.
Yep, that's right.
Great. Okay. So what I can do is it might be easy if I just shared screen, because then we can see what we're doing, right? One moment, which I think is this one. Hopefully, so this is from the last time. And the minutes here are, so this is the minute taker was us, right? So I think I need to put the first action on Dimitri here to finish this, because there are no minutes here so far, and no action items and stuff. So I just want to make sure that the updates that we're discussing at last meeting are summarized here briefly, just to make sure that we don't have to listen to the recording every time we want to find out what the key take homes were. So minutes needed for the last meeting is the first action item for this time. And we had some discussion down here after the meeting. And does anyone want to raise anything about that discussion, or should we just sort of skip to, because there's a bunch of codes here from me, Wendy. And I wasn't quite sure. So we're still needing log D values, are we, for these compounds? Is that the issue?
Well, I already uploaded the log D values I got from Ben.
Okay.
Because I sent him an email as well as I put it on GitHub, because I thought I would do it both ways. And he sent me within 5 minutes the log Ds.
Okay.
So I uploaded those together with the data we had.
Great.
And of course, we're still gathering data. So hopefully in the upcoming month, we can finalize the in vivo work.
Okay, so the log D values for these are in the master list.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said that. Great. Okay, fine. So there's nothing else that's needed here, right? Great. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think in that case we can just skip to the new meeting, which is fine, because that should have all the stuff that we're going to be talking about, I think. And sorry, I've gone the wrong way. Beg your pardon. Here. Okay, great. So the first thing, I guess, in terms of outstanding items in the previous meeting, is the SAR performed by Hung and Kimberly will be checked by Matt and Dimitri. So that's the SAR that you had there, Hung, that you already posted previously in a previous issue. And I guess the idea was for us to check through that. And we did have another meeting about that, where we looked through the SAR that you'd done, and you were going to redo it in a new form to try to sort of highlight the trends. And you picked a subset of the the structures to do that on.
Yeah.
Can you just remind me which issue that's in? Because I always have difficulty finding it. It'd be good if it could be linked here.
Oh, that would be it's say SAR in the issue as well, like first thing. But let me have a look. Number 51.
51. Yeah, so this was the kind of raw.
Yeah, so that's
stuff.
the very first one. But so if you scroll down below, there's my latest one will have a subset of what I've done so far.
Wait, so this is from, yeah, this was 8 days ago, right?
Yeah, so this is a quarter of most of the compounds in there. So it belongs to the triaryl alcohol.
Yeah, and that's the motif A, isn't it?
Yes.
Which is the triaryl alkyl. Got it. Where's the triaryl, right? Okay, great. And yeah, so what you've done here is you've arranged it. I can zoom in a little bit on that. You've arranged it by kind of feature, and you've color coded it with green being potent.
Yes.
All right, great.
There's a few black ones, so it's inconclusive. I'm just waiting for the rest of the data from Wendy, and I can color code it when that happens.
Okay, that's good. Okay, great. And this is all the detail, is it?
Yeah. So I guess these are the tabulated data. It used to just have the 100 micromolars, growth at 100 micromolars of each of the compounds, but I added the 25, and I also added the IC50 and the MIC50 because it does show the trends a bit better. As you can see, some of these, they're green all throughout, which mean they're all good. But like some of them, when you get to the more stringent, like the harder one, like to have to show potency, like the IC50 or the MIC50, it does actually drops off some of them. So it does show that trends of some of the structure being more potent than others. So that's my reasoning of adding these extra columns in.
Got it.
So green is good. Then it's go to amber, so yellow, and then the black one is the one that's not potent. And then I color code the structure. So like ring 3, so red, blue, and purple is for matching what's in the table with the summary, the structural summary on top.
Right. Right. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. I mean, and then you've subdivided it into variants with other bits here. So this is a 2, and then there's a 3, and then a 4 other cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then these are all the kind of individual structures which would go in the SI.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
So that's how I structured it.
All right, great. So, I mean, the first thing, so I think in our sub meeting that we had, then we agreed that Dimitri was going to do this for one of the other cores.
So motif C is what we agreed Dimitri would do. I think I note down the bottom as well. So it's going to be motif C that he's going to look at.
Motif C.
Yes.
Sorry, did you put that at the bottom?
I think I put it at the bottom. If you scroll down a bit.
That's the end.
Oh, I can look it up later, but yes, I told Dimitri to do what you see, and he actually responded already.
And so that's with the nitrogen.
Hi again.
Yeah,
I'm here. So I looked at motif C and have like some suggestions, but of course, like I prepared like a draft version of like a fragment of what we have like there.
Yeah, we just need it loaded up here.
But I thought like we first would like to finalize the layout because we'll be doing it differently. So the way Hank does it and I do it like differently. So I thought like we first show and then we decide which layout like to use.
No, I think we should just put it up here and consult here, and that will allow us to refine it. because this kind of, layout, I'm sure is going to be endlessly refined right before we publish it, to make sure that it highlights the trends here. So we just need that for the motif that you're going to do, Dimitri. In terms of this layout here, so the stuff that's on the screen, I mean, Hung, did you find this useful, as something to do?
Yes, I think it does show what I see from my analysis as well a little bit better. Because when you look at things like on a table, it's kind of, to me, it's represented things a little bit differently to when you actually have this. Like, I think you're right when you're suggesting that this would be more useful. I do agree with that as well, because yeah, when you say it's like it does make sense more to me anyway.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, I mean, just taking the top bit, for example, it highlights the sensitivity of that top ring there. For simplicity, for example, you could combine, you've got the single window here for the carbocycle there.
Yeah.
And you could just stick that in here, right? Because it's just a red, so that one nitrogen helps, two does not.
Okay. Yeah.
And things like that to try and condense it down even further if possible. And this is useful as a sort of guide as to what's acceptable for substitutions.
I think it also show what we're not testing so much. So what I see from here as well is the meta substitution is the scope that we're not doing currently, because you have one meta from the one on the right, which is red, and you have no 3-5 substitution or on the left hand side as well. So the meta position are missing from these SAR.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I was going to ask you, I mean, this now because you've done this, and this is like, revision number 2. I was going to ask you, does anything leap out at you in terms of what's missing?
Yeah. So we're kind of like missing the heavily substituted and also the meta substitution pattern for these rings is what I think is kind of missing.
Is there any molecule based on this structure which would combine the best green bits
Yes.
in one structure that we haven't made?
No.
Right. So we do have sort of, of the greens, we've already combined those 3 into one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Unfortunately. So it's not like there's something, glaringly obvious that we should be making.
I think for the next motifs that will be like the combination of all greens we haven't made, but for this one I think we've made one on a few before. Right. But for like I think B, C, and maybe D, we will have combination of green that we haven't made before. Because I'm working on like B and a little bit of D as well, right, currently. And I do see that, but it's not for this one.
Okay, that's useful to know. And just last question, just in terms of this motif, I guess I just wondered if there were compounds in the Epichem library, right, that we haven't tested, which might fill some SAR hole here.
That I haven't looked at. I can have a look after the meeting. Well, I'm just gonna put on myself in a minute, but I'll have a look through it and I'll see if there's any compounds that can help with our SAR.
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because there are so many in that spreadsheet. And as you can see from the diagram, we have tested a range of structures in this motif. I guess I just wondered, if there was something that is structurally dissimilar, which would be difficult to make and which it would be great to add to this. But I know that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I think this one alone represents about up to 30 compounds in this one alone already.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I think 20 something to 30.
Okay. All right. Well, useful thing to have.
Yeah, I'll look through the library and see what comes up.
Yeah, like I said, something distinct, right? So something which would be a lot of work to make, well, potentially a lot of work to make, but which would be nice to get data on without having to make it, you know. Okay, great. Looks good. Okay, that's fine. So, and this issue is still called, I can sort of find it. Oh, okay, it's just it's structure to relationship analysis. Okay, fine. So this is issue 51. Okay, seems like the logical place to do it.
Yep.
So yeah, so for the next motif, because there were 4, I thought,
Yes.
based on our, okay. So for the next motif, Dimitri, that you agreed to do, just put your current analysis that looks, I mean, something like this, where it's color coded. So something similar, just put it underneath.
Since we're at this as well, when you're done, I can show you the motif B summary as well, just as a quick look. I haven't like double checked, but it's still like in drafting mode, but I can show you that right now as well. When you're done.
You mean you got something you want to show?
Yes.
Oh, fine. Okay. Yeah. Let me get out.
Okay, just give me one moment. Okay. Okay, so the one that I uploaded is this one right here. So that's for A. So I'm trying to do one for B as well, which is this one. See if I can get this out of the way. Let's move it here. So yes, it's kind of the same thing. So I'm thinking. So this is just me thinking, but I'm thinking like B, C, and D. I might be able to do a combination of them all together. But this is just mainly for B with some like C or D. So the R group is all for motif B, but like some of these other bits here might come from the other ones as well. But this is I'm still thinking. But anyway, this is still kind of like follow the same idea from what we had from before. So just split out into rings so you can still see that the carbon cycle in this case is still not good. Then the best one is to the 3-pyridine, and then the more nitrogen you add into here, and then it gets worse. So same idea here of the substitution pattern. So still missing the meta. Di substitution is still preferably more potent than single substitution. Then you go to this ring on here, with which we actually explore quite a bit as well. So piperazine and piperidine is kind of like the best, but you add more steric into here, then it gets worse. This one's not good. Then if you add a linkers, and it's kind of bad here, but linker here is good. So linker before the ring's bad. Linker after the ring, the carbamate is actually best. And if you go to the R group on the side, then these are all of the R group after the ring as well. So that's kind of like the flow that I'm trying to build with this.
Right. I think the central structure there that you've got, the thing in the middle of the screen, is a little bit difficult to understand with all the A, B, C, Z, Y, P, P, that thing, the black structure. I just wonder if maybe you just put a representative, if possible, put a representative structure there, and get rid of all of the letters.
Okay.
Because I mean, we if you the structure with the A, B, C in it, if you just put a ring there or something,
or like an actual compound, because there is a compound that this structure is based on as well. Put that there, and then we know that the others are just variants of it. That's all. And with the dotted lines, it's just got to be unambiguous what that means. So I guess what that, I see, you've got those are the bits that are okay. So you're trying to show that that's the location, right? Fine. Okay, I get it. Fine. So just try and make the central structure simpler. Okay. Because I guess I was looking for something that's generic, but it does make sense that it might get a bit complicated as well.
Yeah, it's just quite difficult to spot what that means.
Essentially, like the analysis is split into like 4 bits. So you got this bits here, then the ring, then this bit, and the R group. So there's like 4 sub thing that goes on in that ring. So it's a little bit more involved than this one, for example.
Right.
So yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm currently looking at. So
but I'd also be tempted to reduce the number of boxes again. So if you can, just because, I mean, so for example, on the bottom there, the piperazines, piperidines, and azetidines, you can just put them in a single box, right? Because they're all essentially the same variation of some kind. You could keep, you could keep them. I mean, the names don't really matter, right? You can keep the names in gray underneath if you wanted to, but combine those 7 structures into one box because they're all addressing the same variation.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Great. What motif was that?
So that was B. So I'm mainly working on B right now, but some of those actually come from C and D as well, but no, it's just a draft I'm looking, because like I guess the idea that we talk as well is like in the end, hopefully we will be able to combine all of these together. So I'm just looking for ways we can do that.
Yeah, right. And so, sorry, just to make sure we're clarifying it, Dimitri, what was the motif you were going to look at?
C.
D. Okay.
C.
Do you have anything now you wanted to share, or do you want to just
yeah, because I just wanted to discuss like the layout of how it should look like, because I did like a draft version of like one of the parts, so I actually have something to show as well. Just give me a second. So basically what I thought would be useful to do is just like so Hank presented this like as parent motifs, the motif C with different substructures, but I decided like to divide it like more into a more like generalized version. So just to compile all of the substructures like with the same core structure like into the different groups. So for example, the motif like with the fluoro and chloro substituents in the pyridine ring. So for example, like if we combine them together, then we grade them based on either on the ascending number of the MycetOS, how it appears like in mycetoma, but this is a subject like to discussion, actually, it doesn't matter. But the most important part, like, yes, I do color tag them in the same way as Hank does. So green is potent, red is inactive, medium potency refers to the yellow. And then we do something like a table, something like this, but with all information in the table as well. So instead of like having separate tables, we just put like the substructure, and then underneath of that, below that, we put the motifs, which are color tagged based on their activity, but with all the information. The only thing which I don't like is how the log D values look. So when I was thinking about this idea, I was like thinking of something that I did like for my upgrade report, but of course this is like totally different because it will have to have structures. But basically it's like something like a traffic light gradation system, which is different like to how motif A.
So the thing we need is the structures and the colors, right? So all the MycetOS codes and all the other specific numbers need to go, because we need to, and the sort of uncluttered diagram. So all of the data as Hung's got is in the supporting information, so we don't lose anything. But in order to visualize what we're looking at, we need it uncluttered and logically arranged, right? So yes, everything color coded and arranged without all of the data there in a way that we can easily cross-correlate trends.
Yeah, because I guess those information will be in the tables, which will be discussed in the SAR. So I think we just need an.
Like if you have color-coded motifs, how do you know like which one of them? Like if you have green ones, but how will you know which one of them are more potent than the others? Because we have like very potent compounds, others are like less, and like by color you won't be able to tell that, no?
Yeah, so Hung's got it just as 3 groups, right? So not potent, quite potent, and intermediate. which is what you need.
Yeah. So I guess how I did it is it's not perfect, but the way that I did is I look at one particular like bit, so like say one ring, for example, and then I look for that change in that rings, but try to keep everything else as consistent as possible. So that's how you can work out like that bit is potent or not potent, regardless of whatever the ID beneath it is. So I try to do that for all of them. So that's how I approach it. But I do
what
think
I also, the major difference that I introduced is I try to compile them based on the structure similarities, so you can see like them in the rows, so like the parent motive, so not based on how it was initially set up, like row 1 potent compounds, then 20% to 80, and then like inactives. I still like subdivided them like into substructures, like into more substructures. So you can see like them in the rows, like for example, with the pyridine ring. So the whole idea is would be like put this like with the pyridine, like with this with chloro and fluoro and pyridine ring, then put the other motive like in a separate row, and then combine like those motives like and color tag them, and the same like for the other, but there's not much actually. You can still like easily do this like in a table, and I guess like it would be much more complicated for motive A because there are many compounds present there.
So I think you just, I mean, try it out, right? So just do the color coding, get rid of all the details, and see if it helps. You know, that's going to be the proof, isn't it?
What about the information? Should it go like in a separate table?
So all the complete information goes in one place, which is the SI, and then the simplified version to help us visualize.
So we already have table, because that comes into my SAR that I've already tabulated the data. You can actually see that on the Excel that I shared on the Dropbox. So it has all of the tables, like the tabulated data are already provided. So now we just need a visual representation of the tabulated data.
Okay, because it's just, I wasn't sure like whether we finalized whether that would be like in the final version, or it was still subject like to discussions on how would the data appear. That's the reason why. Yeah.
So we just need visual a visual summary of that. Yes. So all of the letters, the codes, and all of that are already present in tables. We've already got that data color coded. Now we just need the bits and pieces with color coding summary.
Just one remark. Are you using the same definition for potency? Because here I see growth at 100 micromolar smaller than 20% is called potent. But of course, many of those molecules will fail at 25 micromolar. So that could also be a definition for potent. But also the potency could be simply if they work in vivo, yes or no. Because what we do see is that there's difference between the structures related to in vitro potency and in vivo potency. Or are you doing both? So, for instance, 25 micromolar to see if it's in vitro potent. So what structures are linked to in vitro potency, and what is the difference with in vivo potency? Because I do expect you will find differences if you say, well, if we look at in vitro potency, these and these structures are important. But if we look in vivo, only these structures are important. Because, for instance, with log D, we simply saw a higher log D is linked to more in vitro potency, and a lower log D is linked to a more in vivo potency. So probably you will see this also in your SAR, but it depends on your definition of potency, of course.
Yes, so for my work, the one that I just showed you, I took into account of both the in vitro and the in vivo. So the way that I set up the table is it goes across from like the first four column is in vitro. So it goes from 100 micromolars, 25 micromolars, IC50, MIC50. So, and then the last column is in vivo. So all of that is taken into account when I do that visual representation. So when it's green in my my summary, it's basically gone to the end, to in vivo.
Yes, but that's because if Dimitri does take a different definition, you will get you get the same color code, but for different definitions. So it is important, of
Yeah,
course,
there
that
might
you
be a
both...
crash. I understand that.
I think what I can do is, because I've just updated the table, the Excel, like the tables, I can reshare that. So if there is a difference, Dimitri, I'll hope like it will make it clear.
I'm pretty sure I remember like when I used this table for the upgrade, like the potency defined here was based on what we talked previously with Wendy. And I checked this even on GitHub. I don't know like whether we can agree like on those definitions, because that's what I use like in my work.
So did you use 125?
So less than and or equal to 20% is like high potency. Medium is from 25 to 75, and higher than 75 is low potency, like basically inactives.
Yeah, but this is only based on in vitro.
Yeah, so you do have
But not all compounds have in vivo results, no?
No, that's true. Only
Yeah,
a few have them.
I strongly recommend separating these things out, that we do in vitro as a picture and then in vivo as a picture, and we don't try and confuse the two.
Okay.
Because they're asking different things completely. And one gives us a picture about molecular mechanism of action, and one gives us a picture about whether it's getting to where it needs to go. And they won't be necessarily related. So I think we should try and keep them separate.
But for in vitro, are we okay with this gradation system? Like
it doesn't really matter, you know, because if we change it, then we just change the colors. But so as long as they match, then that's fine. So you know, under 20% as green, the middle is that.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought that's what you were doing already.
I think we screened everything at 125. If you want the strongest criteria, because of course we didn't do the MIC50 or the IC50 for all compounds. So the strongest criteria would then be looking at the 25 micromolar and then saying, okay, below 20% is potent, above 75% is non-potent, and you have a little bit grayscale in between. But yeah, that one is a little bit arbitrary, because usually it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's safest just to say green or red.
Also, as if you don't test for IC50 or MIC50, does that imply that the compounds are not potent anyway? It doesn't get potent enough to get there. So I guess in the table, when I put not tested in IC50 or MIC50, it does imply that the compound is not potent enough to proceed to the next step.
It is implying that it should be red anyways, because otherwise it would go further down the road. So maybe the orange one could be the ones which were tested, but with a very high IC50 or a very high MIC50. So those were potent enough to be tested, but failed to. Our criteria for in vivo screening is of course below 8. So the MIC50 is 8 or below. So that is the green column, and the orange ones should then the ones which were tested for IC50 and MIC50, but above 8, so not selected for in vivo work.
So below 8 is going forward for in vivo. Above 8 is not going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for which definition again? I'm just
IC50 and MIC50.
Yeah, so that's for the orange definition. So the really black-white screening, that's at 125 micromolar. So you get there red if it's not inhibited, or if at all, then it becomes red. And the definition, if it will be green or orange, that one depends on the IC50 and MIC50. But mainly on the MIC50. If the MIC50 is higher than 8, then it should be orange. If it's below, then it should be green, something like that.
Yeah. And what about, what about the 25 micromolar? What's your selection criteria for going forward?
Yeah, so what we typically do is 125, but the 25, that's the one we actually use to see if we need to go for IC50.
Yeah. So which range would you say like it will go forward? What kind of number?
So if it's inhibited at 25 micromolar, so if the percentage growth is below 20%, then it will move further to IC50.
Okay. And if
So
it's
then it's
above, then
potent.
no.
And the rest is considered non-potent.
Okay.
It's just in the interest of time, can I suggest that Hung and Dimitri, you get together to make sure that you are using the same color scheme for the diagrams, and also ideally the same drawing settings would help so that we can combine the pictures later.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the circles for the benzene rings and the stuff that's on screen. We just got to be consistent and use the same representation throughout and the same ChemDraw drawing settings so we can combine things in single diagrams. But maybe just get together and decide on the coloring, and then we can make sure that they're all the same.
Okay.
But we can do that outside the meeting.
Okay.
All right, great. We should probably move on to other things. If I could just get back the screen. Okay. All right. The next thing was the synthesis of compounds and assay added the manuscript. Could we include a link to the manuscript here where it is so that we don't forget where it is? Because it would be good to see where things currently are in terms of, because what we're talking about here, I think, is to make sure that the chemistry is all described, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, Wilson needs to hand in his thesis relatively quickly. So he will present a draft in his thesis of this paper. So if there's any chemistry added, that would be nice. And Wilson, I think you can provide the link there.
That's
in
number
the Google
55.
Doc.
Number 55.
Okay, great. But the thing we're talking about, the action item here, I'm not quite sure what it is. Are we talking about the fact that in the paper, in that draft manuscript, people need to add in chemical details and so on? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah,
so at the time when this comment was made, it was more than a year ago, the manuscript doesn't contain any information on how the molecules were made.
Right.
So maybe that part, the SAR probably is, it's not complete enough to be added in the draft version.
All right, so I guess this is Hung and Dimitri need to add in synthetic chemistry details, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm currently working on it now because we just out of lockdown. I can get back to the lab to finish that. I haven't been able to do that with all of the lockdown, but yes, I'm working on that after I'm done with this essay, I think.
Right. I mean, it's molecules that have been made,
Yes.
which are not in the original paper, because we can refer back to those.
Yes.
We don't have to add in lots of synthetic chemistry details for compounds that are in other papers if they are adequately described elsewhere. It's still nice to include spectroscopic data if we can, but obviously any compounds that we've made that are novel, everything's got to go in, and we may as well do that. So can we, it'd be good to start assembling that.
From UCL, I have full set ready, so I will update this, but it's like fully ready, like fully characterized, like in written.
Okay, number 3, the compounds needed for in vivo testing based on the SL will be requested from EpiChem. So that's happened now.
Yes, but only there we found out that only one was potent below 25. And since we treat our larvae with 20, we cannot include compounds which were less potent, of course. But Ma has the data. of that compound. So
just on the testing, so the data associated with this compound, is that in the public domain somewhere?
well, the experiments are still ongoing. So Ma just finished the last, for some of the compounds, the last round yesterday. So we did do the graphs, but we still need to put it up in GitHub.
Okay,
And
because
not all compounds have been finished, so those we need to update later, of course.
So just in terms of the which compounds we're talking about, again, I'm assuming that those structures are on GitHub somewhere.
Yes.
The structures, right? So we just need a link here so we know what we're talking about. And then any data that's derived from it just needs to be, posted somewhere so we know. Shall I come off share so you can share something more?
Yeah, I think Mark can share her screen.
Hi, shall I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can.
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Today, I still want to present the biological evaluation of Mycetoma open source compounds. In vitro test, I retested the myers 175 and 167, as for myers 175, its MIC is 25, and myers 167's MIC is 4 micromolar, and till now we finished all the vitro test, so the data will be uploaded on the GitHub. And in vivo test, the data for those compounds we complete, and they were tested in 3 independent experiments. And from the Excel we can say, from the picture we can see the myers 167 is able to prolong the larvae survival, the red one, compared to the non-treated infected control, and it seems to be better than ampersand B. And myers 1014 and myers 147 are not able to prolong the larvae survival. This one, the green one, and the blue one, as for the myers 174, it seemed to result in enhanced killing, although the compound itself was not toxic to non-affected larvae. The purple one, we can see all larvae are died on the third day. And as for this picture, we tested the other compounds as well, about the myers 166 and the myers 191. As we can be seen in this graph, the inoculum of this experiments was too low. Here, beyond 30% of larvae in control group survived. We can see the infected control is a circle one. This is a survival percent beyond 30%. So this experiment, therefore needs to be repeated. We will, maybe give it up. Due to this, no statistical enhanced survival was noted for any of the compounds. However, the myers 191 seemed to result in decreased survival. We can see the green one. It maybe have some toxic, but there and the myers 191 is also no toxic on the toxic test. In vitro test also included series 6 compounds, just the Myers 193. And yeah, as we can see in this graph, it's also the same issue about the infected control beyond 30% of larvae survive. So yeah, it's also needed to be repeated. And due to this, no statistical enhanced survival was noted for MycetOS 193 from series 6. And yeah, this is an overview of all compounds I just finished, I think. We can see the Myers 167, it works well, and Myers 1014 and 147, there are no significance with infected control, and the other compounds are still ongoing. And yeah, I also do treatment today and maybe tomorrow. So we will repeat the Myers 166 and the Myers 174, Myers 191 and 193. This from series 6, and hope that the weather will hold warmer and I can do more times a vivo test. When the results are in, we will update in the vitro and in vivo correlations with the molecular properties. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind just dumping that PowerPoint deck on the GitHub issue, that would be great. Just drag it on there so we can have access to it. That would be really fantastic if that's okay with you, because the results are important. Yeah, hopefully you can repeat those 4 compounds. That'd be amazing. But that 167 compound looks good.
Can you just go back to the first slide? There's one that's we think is killing the cells. Yeah.
Okay.
So, oh, sorry, 174 and then what? Yeah. So the difference between the 167 and the 174 is literally a 4-para-bromo or a 4-para-chloro. The rest of the molecules are all the same. So I think that's quite interesting. I don't know if we have purities of the compound that we sent over. Maybe there's something else in there, but very small change having a very different effect. So that's interesting for us to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, just about that, I guess I was wondering, I want to make sure that we're not rediscovering the wheel here, and that if it's known that compounds with that kind of substitution on an aromatic ring have a big impact on potencies of something, you know, against a different pathogen, but against a similar molecular target, which we're assuming are the P450s, right? Isn't that what we're assuming the target is here? I forget.
It's the CYP,
I should know. The CYP enzymes, right?
CYP
Yes.
Yeah. So is it the case, right, that the substitution there is known to have a big impact on inhibition of that in other cases?
Well, in vitro they behave similar, so in vitro it doesn't matter that much. And in the larvae itself, they are non-toxic. It's only when they are combined when they are tested in infected larvae. So somehow that compound has an effect on the fungus inside the larvae, it looks like. Maybe it shed some toxic side products, because if it was really toxic to the host, we would have seen toxicity there as well. We do see when we inhibit, for instance, melanin of the fungus, that the toxic side product can occur, which is juglone, and that also kills the larvae without the compound itself being toxic. But the fungus itself produces a toxic side product then. So I don't know if that could be the case here, but that would be something I was hypothesizing of, because I couldn't explain it otherwise. So it should be something toxic on the fungus itself, which kills the larvae.
Matt, I can have a look back again at Keenan's 2 paper on the SAR of phenaromos on the Chagas disease. I only remember the similarity in the first ring with the 3 pyridine, but I don't recall the substitution pattern. But I can have a look again at those 2 papers because I read those before I did this, so actually I forgot. I don't recall that similarity, but I can have a look again.
Yeah, I mean, and any other, these are quite well-worn targets, I suppose. I'm absolutely not an expert on this target, but it's pretty common target, right? So I'm just wondering if there's SAR against others, where it's known that, oh yeah, if you play with the ring, it really makes a difference to the potency.
Yeah, it is of course also the target of the azoles.
Mm-hmm.
So you would expect, but I'm not sure if it's in public literature as well, you would expect some analysis there with fungal CYP51 enzymes and different types of azoles, because the azoles now on the market should not be the only ones ever made, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So some lit digging, I guess, would be helpful.
So it's the interaction between when you mess with the azoles versus CYP53 or CYP51 or things like that.
Yeah. So, is it, if you imagine you spent your life finding molecules that inhibit these enzymes, and you had a conversation with that person, oh yeah, we changed the chlorine, we changed the parasubstituent. Would that be known? Is that completely unsurprising, right? That we are playing with an area of the molecule that really does determine potency, or which has, is going to have a big impact on potency?
Well, the first azoles were discovered by the Johnson company, I think even in Belgium at the time. But we also see a lot, we tested a lot of azoles already. So maybe we can also look into the azole data we have. A lot means here roughly 20. And we do see differences in potency, both in vivo as in vitro. But I don't know, it's only 20 compounds, so it's not a lot.
So I can recall like recent analysis, well, relatively recent, the ones that we did for series 1 azoles did not give good enough results to pass to the next level, unfortunately.
Do the azoles have their own series, or is it just azoles?
So we did azoles in, oh, sorry, Verne.
Yeah, you have imidazoles and you have triazoles, which are used as antifungals. So there are 2 different classes of azoles. And you do have differences in structure. So itraconazole, ketoconazole, posaconazole have relatively long side chains, while fluconazole and voriconazole are more compact. And with fluconazole, there's hardly any activity against the filamentous fungi, but they changed a little on the molecule to make it voriconazole, and then it became active against filamentous fungi. So fluconazole in the past was only active against the yeast part of the enzyme. So there should be something there in relation to properties with the enzyme, of course, because otherwise voriconazole would not have been made. But that's what the biologist here knows. Of course, I don't know that much about the chemistry behind it, but that's what I recall from the presentations I attended on conferences.
I mean, I was just wondering, because we have 5 or 6 series now. Do those azoles fit into one series, or do we actually haven't had a series for them yet? They haven't formed.
No, we didn't test them in a separate series because they were so many commercially available azoles, because it's the main class of antifungal agents in use at the moment. So in many of the MMV boxes, azoles were present. We tested azoles in the past simply because they were out there and they were used to treat other fungal infections. So that's why we tested roughly 20 or so. But it was not something which was in the MycetOS which was made. Because I assume that Pfizer and Johnson company probably have large stocks of different azole libraries, but
Okay, we're only got about 5 minutes left, so I was just going to try and rattle through the last few things if possible. Number 4 here was that about streamlining requests from schools to make Series 2 compounds. The Sevenoaks School guys want to do some of this chemistry. They're just waiting on a sense of the SAR from your stuff, Kimberly, so that they can sort of say, okay, well, given that, then let's make this compound. If you're able to share that or make a diagram of it or something, I can point the teachers out there and they can sort of get started.
Yeah, sure. We also, so I have this on my list and I just haven't got to it yet, along with many other things for GitHub. We also have John from the US. He's going to make some compounds for this as well. And
Right.
He's picked 4. I just need to get him to get onto GitHub and share that.
Right, so we can coordinate.
Yeah, but yeah, so he's picked some and then we can suggest some to Andy as well. Basically, the SAR, we found out that the best thing to do is keep that pyridine ring with the nitrogen at the 2 position. None of the substitutions we looked at really did anything. I think the 2-methoxy might have been the best out of all of them, but it's really not anything to shout and rave about. So really they can look at whatever they want because we didn't really find anything from it.
Okay. All right, great, thanks. Series 5 seems so for ideal series to look into. So Wendy, you were going to ask MMV for more details on the compound. It does look like an interesting compound.
I still need to do that, sorry.
Okay, no worries. S5, and then ISNT update. I can write something there. We're planning a session for later in November. I think it's going to go ahead, but it's being organized by DNDI and ISNTD, and we're just finalizing the speaking order. It's a short session, about an hour, with questions, but it looks like it's going ahead. Hopefully, more details when we've locked in the day and we've started to when we finalize the running order. And then number 7 was shipment of UCL and IMSA compounds to Rotterdam. So I guess we haven't done that yet, right? Because we're waiting on.
No, there's one of the compounds of one of the new compounds that I synthesized wasn't pure enough. So probably I'll not include it like in the latest batch and just carry on like with sending like the rest.
This is in vitro. Any deadlines or anything from you guys, Wendy?
No, for in vitro, we can usually run that all year round. There's one little drawback now. We test in RPMI media, and due to COVID, we didn't get any RPMI media delivered. They said it would probably come in a week or 2. But yeah, with COVID, sometimes things are delayed. So for us, it's not a problem that the compounds are a little bit delayed because, well, we lack the media to test them in.
Right. Okay. All right.
Is the
all right.
ISNTD, is that a conference that anyone can, like any of us can join if we want to, like attend?
Yeah, no, it'll be publicly available and streamed and stuff. So yeah, it's meant to be an update on mycetoma drug development, drug discovery and development, and our open work. So it's quite focused on small molecule development and open stuff. We have a draft agenda which is going around by email, and we're just trying to finish it off.
Yep.
All right, we've got only a minute left, unless there are any urgent updates, I mean, from anyone else that we haven't talked about yet.
No, I think that the most important thing is the time is going to be changed. So probably we should set a new date and time for the upcoming winter meetings.
So it's actually already +1 for Sydney. So it's actually 10 p.m., not 9 p.m. as it was in the. I fixed that it was 9 p.m. before. I went to 9 p.m. and I saw nobody, but that's fine. I just watch YouTube for next round. But yeah, it's just the time. I think the best way that we can do this, I'm just suggesting this, is we just keep the UTC at 11, and then we each set our own calendar. That might help. I don't know.
I'd rather not meet at 10 p.m. every time.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially because 10 is actually like my bedtime because I'm old now. But yeah, if we can slightly change it, I know it makes it harder for America, but
all right, you just make it earlier in the day for once. Sure. So we're talking about in a month's time on a Tuesday in the morning for Europe then.
Yeah, I think that's manageable, absolutely.
So who is going to fix that and send around times? Can we have a volunteer?
I tried last time, but it didn't work out quite well, so I might not do that again. Someone else can try, please.
I can try.
All right.
I can do it.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I mean, I think, yeah, because our clocks are going to change this weekend, so it's easy to do it manually, I think,
Yeah.
using, meeting planner or whatever. Okay, great. I think that's everything because we're running out of time. Yeah, anything that people didn't get a chance to talk about, just please dump it in the GitHub issue here. And then okay, so Hung, yeah, and actually you said you're on doing the minutes for this and the action items for next time.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Great to see everybody. Thanks for coming.
All right. See everyone.
Yeah. See you next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.